Mitt Romney, who's up for re-election in 2024, and by God, there better be somebody out there to primary this. It's too early in the video for what I really want to call him, but hopefully somebody's out there to primary him for 2024 when he is up again, has a brainwave of an idea, okay? Because Joe Biden's not going to tackle the whole issue of inflation, okay? He'd just rather push it off and make it a, I don't know, gender, climate, Republican issue or something like that. So if he's going to foist it on the other party out there, at least there's some ideas that are going to be helping out, okay? Mitt Romney thinks expanding the number of work visas will fix inflation. God, you're so dim. Like, how does that even compute rather? Like, he can't even commute that idea without cracking a smile, I would imagine. But just please primary him, please. Republican Senator Mitt Romney, Republican, small R, very very small R. He's a tiny man. Wants to cut inflation by cutting Americans' wages, including wages earned by GOP's own voters. Yeah, no, exactly. Like, this shit makes no goddamn fucking sense. Okay, like, more work visas. Okay, so you're going to try to incentivize immigration, which is already rampant. So you don't want to take care of that issue. Okay, so that speaks for itself. Okay, so you want to grant the work visas, okay, for the people that are coming across the border. But instead you take a look at the people that are actually participating, and not to mention any of the jobs reports that are out there. It's like, yeah, historic iffiness that's in the job market right now. Instead of addressing what is going on with actual American citizens, no, just try to outsource the rest of this work. This is old classic fucking neo-lib and neocon nonsense and the shit that is not fucking popular with anybody. What a dumb idea. Mitt Romney urged the cuts in November 10th Wall Street Journal op-ed. Of course, instead of doing something productive for his party, he's writing an op-ed for the fucking Wall Street Journal. Where he echoed Goldman Sachs' May demand for more migration to cut inflation by cutting wages. Exit polls of voters confirmed that inflation remains a top voter concern. So what do you do about that? Well, Milton Friedman would have been talking about this as well. Barry Goldwater was talking about the exact same shit. You know how you stop inflation? There's that money machine in the background. We're just going to go ahead and hit the off button. Okay, cool. And then we're going to stop all of the superfluous spending, because if you can hear in the background, there's probably a Brinks truck backing up to the Fed. Oh, and it's probably filling up with a whole bunch of funds that are going to be sent back over to Ukraine. But don't worry, guys. I got flags in my bio, and that makes me a good person. So what do you want to talk about inflation for? Anyways, midterm campaigns largely focused on assigning blame for rising prices. That was what the establishment was talking about. The Good America First candidates, they were talking about cultural issues, something you don't fucking know a goddamn thing about. Now, Congress can actually help by increasing legal immigration. Swinging a fucking miss, Mitt. Expanding the number of work visas in sectors that face worker shortages. Bruh, you could just take a look at the people that aren't participating in the workforce anymore. I just used him as a fucking splash-off point, okay? I don't give a fuck what Mitt Romney has to say, nor does anybody else. And the only people that read the Wall Street Journal are fucking boomers, or the people that are a little bit too excited to see other people fail and fall down. Just misspoke there. Had a Bidenism for a second. But no, the Wall Street Journal, they're like certifiable hit journalists. They took down, I'm not even a big fan of this guy, okay, Ethan Ralph with the kill stream. They got that thing summarily deplatformed. They were running a charity stream, and it's like they had a discussion about the Holocaust, and that's unacceptable, and then was canceled overnight. And then also took out Vince McMahon, which is impressive. I guess that's a feather in your cap, but is anybody really gonna, line up to save you once the big journalism culling eventually happens? Because all of the days of the old legacy media are just about fucking through. Speaking of which, NPR, okay, good old NPR, National Public Radio, I think that's what it stands for. Regardless, it's barely listenable, but every once in a while they fuck up and they publish something that's kind of interesting, okay? Men are struggling. Yeah, but do we care about that, men? It doesn't really much matter. It's all about bringing equity that's out there, which is just a female supremacy movement. Oh, did I say the quiet part out loud? Oh, well. A new book explores why and what to do about it. We're not going to go through the entire article. Feel free to do so, but all I want to do is just take a look at this first little section right here, okay? Friday's job numbers for the Labor Department showed a continuing worrisome trend among men. This was just published earlier at the beginning beginning of the month. Okay, so these are fresh ass numbers. These are numbers from October. So this is as good as we're going to get, okay? A smaller and smaller share of men working. Consider men of the so-called prime working age, 25 to 54. Yes, the kids that would theoretically just be getting out of college in any form or fashion, something like that. So about, 24, 25 years old, all the way through until, well, theoretically long after, a couple of decades after them getting to the height, making smart business decisions, and hopefully they're manifesting. Maybe guys that are looking to slow down in their specific working age, but, hey, if you make, proper maneuvers, you won't have to physically waffle around. But yeah, no, theoretically, I accept your premise, and we'll continue. 60 years ago, close to 97% of men in that group were working or looking for work. Yeah, no, you can take a look at it. Okay, 1962 starts at 96%, and then stays relatively fine all the way through the 60s, and then when do we start to see it start to drop off? What happened in 1965? Okay, 1966, 1965. Okay, what happened then? And then all of a sudden things just start to slowly drop off. Now it's only down from 96. Okay, and then what? 10 years later, it's down just about 4 basis points. Very interesting. And then you see a couple more dips, and then now we're at right here at the end. 88.5%. 2 years after when the pandemic started, bottoming out at 86.4%. Understandably, they locked you out of your jobs, and then some dumb cunts out there thought that it would be a good idea to re-elect those people because I like safety. Fuck off. But look at the way that they've recovered, or lack thereof when it comes to recovery, because, when everything was really rocking, just about 90%, 89.6%, March of 2019, I would say that's about the tops. You might be able to massage the numbers a little bit better, but that is still 10.5 percentage points of the United States male electorate is innate, non-employed, or educated, or in training. I think that's what NEET stands for, NEET. Anyways, but yes, 60 years ago, close to 97% of men in that group were looking or are currently working. Since then, there's been a steady decline. Yeah, and again, 1965, anything immediately come to mind as to what changed then? Then guys just getting out of the workforce. Funny thing about that, they won't bring it up in this section, but we'll elucidate you a little bit before we move on. In October, that number was 88.5%, a slight dip from the previous 2 months. In a new book, Brookings Institute scholar Richard V. Reeves sounds the alarm for the struggles of men. Yeah, but is anybody going to hear it? If a man suffers in silence, how can a woman be most affected? Both in the economy and in society, pleading with policymakers and society at large to pay attention to what's going on and intervene. Yeah, but every time that you see something come up, a man's issue, men are how many times more likely to actually commit suicide? Then it'll be, well, women have it tough too, Or probably the most famous infographic that I've seen out there. 1 in 4 homeless people are women. Yeah, and that's your big takeaway. 1 in 4 homeless are female. But we got a homelessness crisis, Got an opioid crisis, And how do a lot of those opioid addictions start? Guys who are working fucking terribly difficult jobs, because that looks like, a construction job, You want a whole bunch of women out there in construction, right? But you don't actually want them swinging hammers, knocking fucking rivets and sawing rebar. You don't want them pouring concrete or anything like that, They just want to be working in the shacks, They want to be the project manager, Because this whole female push, it's elevating women at the cost of men. Everybody would be totally 100% on the side of lifting up women if it didn't have to come at the cost of men. And again, I'll just fill in the gaps of what I'm talking about right here. 1965, 1966, the sexual revolution, the invention of hormonal birth control, ergo making sex as free as the fucking air you breathe. And then you take a look at that and correlate into why exactly men go to work. Why exactly do men struggle? If we get down to the bottom fucking level, well, I think Dave Chappelle summarized it perfectly, The only reason that men acquire stuff is to get fucking pussy. If they could get box in a cardboard box, they would never work a day in their life. While that's a joke, it is 100% true. And what are men told when they're growing up? Go to school, study hard, get a good job, get a secure job, find a good girl, get married, have the house, have the 2.4 kids, the dog, the cat, the white picket fence, everything will be fine. All you need to do is just work hard and it will be right there for you. But then something started to change, and then a drastic change in, on, or around, and you can see the other big dip when everything starts to go off, okay? When it started to consistently go below 90%, what really started to take off in 2008, late 2000s? Ooh, social media. Oh, and then the revolution of the globalized sexual marketplace where women could start expanding their horizons. Oh, they had the opportunity. They no longer had to perform. They no longer had to seek attention from men in their local areas. Oh, they could take that shit fucking international. They could just hop on Facebook, post some pictures. People would leave comments and likes. They had likes on Facebook. I didn't use the shit. But anyways. And then, oh yeah, especially 2014, as you can see, big old dip right there. Like, this is not shocking at all whatsoever. Where it was just about bottoming out and probably eventually where it will somewhat return to. Okay, and it's actually even lower down there. Okay, Instagram started to really take off in 2014. Okay, and as anybody who's in this sphere and understands these ideas knows just as well, social media is churn marketing for women. All they need to do is just post a selfie, have some sort of sympathetic caption, okay? Because what's the old bog standard that's out there? Feeling cute, might delete later, okay? Or, oh, I'm feeling so gross lately, where it's just a downward angle with a whole bunch of cleavage, and it's like, oh no, you're so perfect, and then it's just immediate fucking simping. And it's immediate validation. Oh, you're perfect the way you are. Whole bunch of comfortable lies that are out there. And who's providing all that attention? The guys who are hoping to still fulfill that same old goal of studying hard, getting a girl, having a good life. That's that confluence of old order ideas coupled with the new reality that's out there, okay? We're in the 21st century. Shit has fucking changed. Hell, we're just about through the 22nd year of the 21st century, okay? You think things should be fucking updated appropriately? No, it's just men are lazy and they don't want to go to work. It's just easier to not be at work. Men need to be better. We need to be better men because women are suffering. No, it's because women make bad fucking decisions, and it's about time somebody holds them accountable. Because we got our boy, Rollo Tomasi, the Rational Male, of course. I got the first 4 out of the 5 books, so I'll be getting the 5th one. I still have to read through Religion. I've read through the first 3, and I think that he doesn't talk about the 3rd one very much, but I really liked it, even though about half of it is all about parenting, which isn't necessarily applicable to me, but I also can extrapolate that out because I got this weird thing called critical thinking. I know. But he put together this very nice thread of a whole bunch of ideas that are out here, okay? And it perfectly emblemizes why exactly the Democratic Party is focusing so intently on the needs and issues of women at the expense of men, because he could give a fuck. Like, just take a look at what Mitt Romney, okay, which is just, you know, is he a Republican? Is he conservative? Maybe, even in the old traditional sense. Remember, he was still the the Republican nominee in 2012, okay? He tried his goddamnedest to unseat Barack. I guess, there aren't that many people, in the labor force. Those jobs aren't, ever coming back. Obama. So he is firmly entrenched in these old ideas because open borders, guess what, okay? Even Bernie Sanders would point this out. Open borders is the Koch brothers issue. Big conservative funders, if you haven't heard about them in a long time. Old fucking neocon money, okay? I think they're behind Reason magazine, and that's why that fucking publication's such dog shit. But no, man, they don't. They can just pay lip service to it, okay? Then, oh yeah, men are struggling, you know, yeah, that's all bad and stuff like that. Okay, cool. But then at the same time, why are they launching things like what was that shit from a few days ago? Climate change, gender-based fucking commie nonsense. I forget it. Like, it's just such a fucking meticulous word salad. But what was the entire issue? To get women more invested in the government. Call it exactly what it is. Why exactly? Because Rollo starts off the thread right here, okay? Democrats and Republicans, how men and women voted, depending on their marital status, right after the midterms. This comes from the Washington Examiner. I use them quite a bit, okay? I'm not too sure what the article was that this came from, but it's got the branding on there. I trust the source on this one specifically. And they got a pretty big sample size, okay? So gender by marital status, 18,571 total respondents, okay? And they got married men and married women, both 30% of the demographics that are out there, which is nice. It's I'm sure in years gone by that was probably much higher, but hey man, no use crying over spilt milk. That still accounts for 60% of the people that are out there, and then, well, we can extrapolate that out further. But you take a look at this, and there's a lot of shit to glean from this, okay? You got married men vote for Republicans at just about a 60% clip. 59%, 39% of the time, 40% of the time, so 60-40 break, okay, for Republicans over Democrats. Don't expect, any big surprises on that one? Okay. Fathers, husbands, they have much different concerns. Once that switch flips in their head, okay, something that I haven't experienced, likely at least half of that stuff. Probably won't experience as well. Don't know what it's like, but you hear about it all the time. Even from the more high-value men out there, as opposed to the, your average frustrated chumps. And then married women. Very funny when we take a look at the rest of that stuff. They vote Republican at 56%. Okay, 56% of the time. And especially around this issue, because the Republicans legitimately dropped the fucking ball when it came to, what made the rest of our, electoral victories incredibly successful? Focusing on social issues, like, making sure that public schools aren't indoctrinated by all those commies pushing all that gender ideology, all of the soft communism that's out there. Oh, okay, cool. Instead of focusing on that stuff, no, we're just going to focus on, hey, Biden's kind of stupid, right? So perhaps some of the lingering idea, or maybe just their husband drug them along, because that's the whole idea of single females out there, that all of these stupid women that are married, they're just all subservient to their men. They're just so much more happy getting covered in cat hair and cat piss. But I've said this before, and so have so many other people, okay, out there, okay? Married women, okay? Women who really love their partner, okay? Adopt everything about them if given enough time, okay? If she's a fervent supporter of one sports team, okay, if she loves the man and she cherishes the man enough, she's going to end up adopting his style in some form or fashion, okay? Same with political views, food tastes, it really doesn't fucking much matter, okay? That's eventually going to happen. When a woman's in love, she doesn't see anybody else. Everybody's like, basement Brad who works at fucking CVS who helped her out at the fucking pharmacy. She doesn't even know anybody else exists. Then you take a look at the smallest demographic, which is just kinda fucking weird. 16% of unmarried men vote. It's kind of a toss-up. 52% Republican, 45% Democrat, and I guess, what would that account to? Okay, so you got 97% right there. 3% for, the lolbertarians that are out there, because that's going to be the party that makes the change. If I see that shit again, I'm going to fucking blow my brains out. So yeah, it's all pretty much base bug standard, okay? Men vote Republican, married women vote Republican, and then you get to the real kicker on this one. Why do you think the Democrats, okay, student loan forgiveness, we broke that shit down, okay? Was 2/3 of the student loan debt are held exclusively by women? It's like, bruh, why do you think he did the student loan change just before the election? Why did you think all of the Democrats' marketing was about women's rights, abortion on demand everywhere? Unmarried women lap that fucking shit up, okay? Married women, women in long-term relationships, they don't give a fuck about that stuff because they're hoping to get knocked up by the guy that they love. And God bless them. But you take a look at that. That is the big fucking outlier. 70-30 for Democrats. 23% of the population, okay? If it wasn't for unmarried women, Republicans would sweep every fucking election. So why do you think all of the Democrats marketing panders specifically to unmarried women? Because they have them in their back fucking pocket. What do you think they'll pay a little bit of lip service, okay, to minorities that are out there, okay? And that used to be their little pet voting bloc until they decided, ooh, all of these women that are really dependent on all of our policies, we could really exploit this. Oh, right. Yeah, Republicans, yeah, man, they just want control of your bodies, and we don't really want that, though. We want you to be able to make the decisions for yourself, okay? If you want to go out there and have unfettered, unadulterated sex, God bless you, go for it, okay? Let them squirt all up in you. If you want to get that thing taken care of 6, 7, 8 months later, don't worry about it. We got your back on this one. Oh, what's that? You want to go to college for... you want to get your PhD in gender studies? That is terrific. Don't worry. We got the bill on that one. That is very important. You go there and you get it, girl. Oh, what's that? You're a single mother all of a sudden? Don't worry. We got so many fun... We got an unlimited amount of resource to make sure that kid is never going to be on the streets. We'll set you up in a house that's out there. We'll... make sure that kid goes through that public school system. We'll make sure everything's taken care of for you. All you need to do is just take this ballot and make sure it's totally up to you who you want to vote for, but just make sure you remember who is taking care of everything for you. Oh, what's that? You think the gas prices are too high? That's all right. We'll give you a bus ticket. Don't worry about it. It's fucking hilarious. But we got a lot more to this thread, okay? So he also quote tweets the prolific Rolf Dengen, okay, for those of you who don't know, science writer and book author in psychology, neuroscience, and evolution. Yes, he's very prolific in his writings when it comes to evolutionary psychology. So the little excerpt that he has here, the summation, the greatest intergenerational transmission of left-right ideology consists of parents who pass their liberal orientation to their daughters. I wonder why. Study investigates the intergenerational transmission of left-right ideology position, making use of German and Swiss household data. The results show high contemporary parent-child coordinates in ideological positions in line with classic work in political socialization ideology. In both countries, a left-wing ideology is far more likely to be transmitted than a right-wing ideology by mothers and fathers. This is mainly driven by the young female offspring. Young women consistently place themselves on the left of men across all combinations of parental ideology, which indicates that the gender-generational gap trumps other gendered patterns in intergenerational transmission. Consequently, daughters are less likely than sons to take over the parent's rightist position. The parent-son transmission is equally large on the left and right. So, sons look like they can differentiate their ideas, whereas women are just more willing and accepting, okay, to continue on with, parents know best, the safety and security that's out there. They have my best intentions at heart, okay. Therefore, by telling me to vote for the party who just wants to take care of your every need and whim that's out there, instead of you risking any failure, okay, instead of somebody offering you the ladder to success, they just want to put you on the escalator of, let's call it what it is, financial slavery. To continue on, this also means that left-leaning parents have a general advantage over right-leaning parents in having their ideological identifications reproduced by their daughters. Very interesting, because you could take a look at some of the left-leaning parents that are out there right now. Most of them can't reproduce for very obvious fucking reasons, because you take a look at some of the most popular examples of left-wing couples, and two pair of scissors don't normally create a third, if you know what I mean. Or if you do have a traditional couple that's out there, one has had so many hormones pumped through them that they're no longer fertile. Let's just say that as well. Yes, continuing on with the work of Rolf Dengen, women opt for more egalitarian redistributive policies and men prioritize equality over efficiency. A report a greater willingness to share wealth. Interesting. There is substantial evidence that women tend to support different policies and political candidates than men. Many studies also document gender differences in a variety of important preference dimensions, such as risk-taking, competition, and pro-sociality. We conduct an experiment in which individuals in small laboratory societies repeatedly vote for redistributive policies and engage in production. Consistent with evidence from outside the laboratory, women tend to vote for more egalitarian redistributive policies than men. This gap is substantial and persists with experience, and is also very similar in environments with and without risk in relationships between work and initial income. Women prefer less risk and less competition. You know that too, okay? If you've been dealing with a woman, you're always going to notice that they're always going to err on the side of safety and security. Nothing wrong with that, okay? This is the studies that are out there, okay, by accomplished people, okay? This is something that you've probably known for the longest time, okay? Just think about dealing with your mother and your father, okay? Your father, he's the one that's teaching you how to ride your bike, okay? Taking the training wheels off one at a time, okay? Whereas your mother's going to make sure that you have your elbow pads on, your wrist guards on, your helmet on as well, your knee pads as well. That's just entertainment. Again, there's nothing wrong with that, okay? Those are just the simple numbers, okay? I don't make the news, I just report it. They are also less confident about their relative baseline performance in a task that we employ as a production activity, despite there being no gap in actual baseline performance. So instead of the fear of rejection, the fear of failure, being a driving force in order to become more competent, become more successful, try again, as it were. They would just rather vote for the safer, more secure option. Ergo, why the welfare state is in the state that it's in. Quoting Steve Stewart Williams, another prolific author as well, Psychology, Evolution, Science, author of The Ape That Understood the Universe, Darwin, God, and the Meaning of Life. Yes, of course, Steve Stewart Williams is fucking great with the research that he does, and what he's saying here is male students preferred protecting free speech over an inclusive and diverse society by a decisive 61 to 49. Female students took the opposite position, favoring an inclusive, diverse society over free speech by 64 to 35. Holy, you couldn't find a more stark contrast than that, okay? And why do you think all of those new age policies end up getting pushed, okay? Do you see a body positivity campaign for men that's out there? Oh no, you see, just you need to go out there and accept the dad bod. Meanwhile, there's no guys going back and forth saying that, oh bro, you're in the gym too much, you just accept your dad bod. That is being foisted by what side that's out there, instead of telling somebody that they should go out there and work your fucking fat ass off. How about that, drop some pounds, otherwise you're going to end up dropping dead. And that's why, well, it's pretty obvious, okay? You tell men to just men up, be better men that's out there. Sometimes, more often than not, that's a good message, of course, but you'll never get pushback for that. But when you want to poke holes in female ideology, oh no, they're the ones that get, they just all of a sudden get a little bit too offended for that stuff. Case in point. Then Rob Henderson, another accomplished in a long line, okay, like Rolo's only, citing the good sources that's out there. Until the 1980s, women were more right-wing than men. What changed? In the 1990s, the pattern reversed and women became more left-wing than men. First, we found that in established democracies, as recently as the 1980s, women tended to be more conservative than men in their ideology and voting behavior, as early studies suggested. So, what changed? Moreover, the patterns persist today. In developing societies, when women continue to prove slightly more right-wing than men, even after including a range of social controls. Yet, most importantly, we also found that many post-industrial societies, by the 1990s, women were shifted leftwards, producing a modern gender gap similar to that which currently exists in the United States. By the mid-1990s, we established that women were no longer more conservative than men, and often more left-leaning in many established democracies. Interesting. And regrettably, we got quote from Nancy Pelosi, which, if you remember all of her campaigning, it's like, please stop breaking into my house and hitting my husband over the head with a hammer. But this was back in November of 2021, just about a year ago, a little bit better than a year ago. People ask me all the time for many years, if you ruled the world, what are the things you would do? If I ruled the world, one of the things I would do is invest in education for women and girls and their empowerment. Why? Because Nancy Pelosi is fucking power hungry. She got to those levers of control, and you're going to have to pry them from her cold, dead hands. Going back to Rob Henderson, in every country studied, girls are more likely than boys to climb the income ladder. 75% of American daughters escape the lowest quintile, not unlike girls in Finland, Norway, and Sweden. Fewer than 60% of American sons experience similar success. So you take a look at that, at least in industrialized nations, okay, where everything is just about as equal as it gets. I think women have caught up. I think women have lapped men. Why? There used to be an old policy that was out there that was just trumpeted by all of the politicians. No kid left behind. Now, it's no woman left behind. And who's getting left behind? Well, the guys who are only good enough to clean up after the party's over. Ralph Dangan, once again. 2 studies investigated how people react to the research describing sex differences, depending on whether that difference favors males or females. As expected, participants in both samples reacted more positively than female favoring sex differences. Listen closely, this one's very interesting. Participants found that female favoring differences more congenial and judged the research revealing them to be of higher quality. Interesting. So whenever somebody's placed in front of them, okay, some studies, both of them can be identical, okay? One is authored and one is presented by a female. One is authored by a man and presented by a man. The exact same stuff. The female presenter in the female study is viewed in a more positive light, and it is also viewed to be more credible It's the exact same stuff. This is what happens when you start to pander to feelings over, well, I hate to sound a little hack here, over rationality. Contrary to expectations, women do not consistently react more positively than men to female favoring sex differences, or men less negatively than women to male favoring differences. Overall, though, the sexes differed a little in how they responded to a hypothetical research. Both tended to find the female favoring differences more agreeable, although both sexes consistently prefer female favoring sex differences. Why? Well, women, it's a term that I heard coined by Rollo, okay? It's a sisterhood uber alles, okay? Women will always come together, okay? When anybody's criticizing them, oh, don't worry, girl, you got this, okay? Or if somebody's just trying to point out the uncomfortable truths about women dating much later in life, oh, don't worry, you still look great. Oh my God, you don't even look close to that age. You don't look a day over 24. I know I'm sounding a little bit hack when it comes to that stuff, but that shit legitimately happens all the fucking time. And even men too, they'll be a little bit, they might think it under their breath, okay? They might vocalize it a little bit, play it off as a bit of a joke, but confronted face to face, they're never going to speak up against it, okay? Unless, of course, you're some of the brave few that are out there, but some of us do exist, and you're appropriately shamed or insulted or guilted into the correct position because the need to be right is strong with the women that are out there. Remember, the sisterhood uber alles. It doesn't matter what policy is out there, the female imperative must continue unaffected. However, the strength of the association was weak, and there was no relationship between political orientation and responses to the female favoring differences. That's in response to the Western sample. The more the participants leaned left, the more negatively they responded to male favoring differences, ergo, women most credible. Couple more quick studies before we bounce. Sex differences in emotionality, with women scoring substantially higher, were larger in wealthy and gender egalitarian countries, replicating a well-known pattern. Don't know why that was so difficult to say. That was basically just a recap on everything else that we were talking about before. And then to just really drive it home, an example that I was using before, didn't know it was a part of this thread, but I'm glad we're here. Women support an encompassing welfare state to a greater degree than men, even more so in gender egalitarian countries. That's what I'm talking about. Women are incredibly risk averse, okay? You just ask yourself, and you can take a look on YouTube or wherever you want to take a look, okay? Women cannot take an L. They cannot take a loss. They have no idea how to be rejected, okay? Christ almighty, there's those studies and other things that were out there, okay, of a woman pretending to be a man, okay, to just go out there and see what it's like every day to get rejected. Honestly, okay, trying to run game on a girl, you're going to end up getting rejected not 8 or 9 times out of 10 if you aren't, alpha turbo Chad, if you aren't 1000% everybody's type, okay, guess what? Henry Cavill's going to strike out. Guess what? Tom Cruise is going to fucking strike out. There is no universally sexy man that's out there, okay? But yet, at the exact same time, you could have a 6 walk into a nightclub. She could stand in the middle of the fucking club, go, ah! And still go home with a guy that evening. Again, put that theoretical movie star, music star out there in the middle of the club, okay? He will be hard pressed in order to do the exact same thing. That's why women will always flock to security over the opportunity. And that's why men are punching out, because women are opting for security. And men, yeah, they're going to go out there and they're going to build. They have their male burden of performance that they just are intrinsically hardwired to pursue. But then once they acquire all their wealth, they acquire a good physique, they become well-spoken, well-researched, smart, funny, all of that fun stuff that is attracted to women. Then they take a look around and realize that, wow, whew, Western playing field, man, that's pretty busted. Do I want a girl who has 2 kids by 2 different men? Do I want that girl who looks like a human pincushion with more ink than a crayon box? Bic Sharpie factory. I understand wax crayons doesn't quite make that much sense. Realistically, they take a look around and their choices are lacking, to say the least. Girls who have had more dick by mile ran through them than the Trans-Pacific Railroad. Or hell, some of those women that are out there might sound a lot like the Trans-Pacific Railroad, if you know what I mean. They aren't pursuing what their fathers and grandfathers and great-great-grandfathers had pursued, because it's not out there. It doesn't exist for most people out there anymore. Become a world, more so than ever, of the have-yots and the have-nots. So what do you do with that information? Well, I'm not going to be one of those doomers. I'm not going to be one of those black pillars that are out there, okay? I'm just going to tell you something that I told you at the beginning when we started to run through this thread. Become the man that the woman finds so goddamn attractive that she wants to become everything that you love. You want to try to find that genuine burning desire. You shouldn't be settling for anything that's going to be transactional. You want your ride or die girl. But I understand most guys live in a scarcity mindset where they never, ever want to lose any piece of pussy, any crumb of pussy that might come their way. Shit ain't gonna fucking work out long term for you. But don't worry, if you want to go live like that, there's plenty of places where you can sit down and talk with the guys who just, can only be out and can only have a couple of beers for just a little while, okay, because they got to go home to the old wife and they don't want to piss her off like that. Plenty of those guys exist out there. I used to work with them. I don't anymore, because I made a choice to be a little bit better than that. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.